and welcome to the Flying Cat Marketing interview series. Today I have Chima Mmeje, who is a Nigeria-based SEO copywriter, and we've been interacting for a while on LinkedIn. She works for B2B SaaS brands and is just firing up a storm with her personal brand. I'm so happy to have you on today. How are you?
Thank you so much, Maeva. I'm doing good.
Awesome. We had chat before, like a few months ago, I think we got on a call.
I think September, October last year.
It was, yeah, okay, it was last year already. Wow, time flies. I've just been really interested in, your thing is SEO, you're an SEO writer, but you're also building such a big personal brand on LinkedIn. And I really like, you've been talking a lot about inclusivity in the SEO and SaaS space and your freelancer coalition that you're building. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, like the whole point of the coalition is that when I started out in SEO, I was telling Gary Sussman when I went on his podcast that SEO is actually a very small community. People think it's big, but it's small, and in a way, it's kind of like invite only. So most people from this side of the world are on the outside looking in. There's a barrier for them to get in there, learn what they should know, charge the right amount for doing client work. So most of them end up on Upwork and Fiverr because they think that is the best that they can do. So I had the same issues when I was starting out. Like I already knew the basic of SEO writing because I worked in-house. I knew a lot more than most people because I had opportunity, but I was also very cautious of the fact that there was this barrier there. And what helped me get past this barrier was people. It was people who brought me in, people who shared their resources with me, people who started making introductions. Basically, I leveraged my network to get past that barrier, and it's the reason why I'm enjoying all the success I'm enjoying now. But at the same time, I am still conscious that I had this problem in the past, and there are freelancers in developing countries who have not been as, will I say, lucky as I've been. So how do we close this barrier, this bridge that prevents them from earning what they've been earning? You see someone who does full SEO services charging $200 a month. You see someone who's writing content and charging, I know people who do charge $200 a month for SEO. I know people who charge $10, $20 for content. Like, it's insane. And it's because they don't think that there's anything better out there for them. One, two, they have massive imposter syndrome because they are aware of the skill gap that exists in their, maybe in their SEO skills, in their writing skills, whatever freelancing skills they have. They know that there's a skill gap, and they can't close that skill gap because they can't afford to pay for courses, because even $100 at this end of the world is a shit ton of money. So what I'm trying to do is that this program exists to close that gap. Basically, that's the short goal, and we are doing it by one-on-one support. One freelancer from a developing country gets paired with an expert in that niche in a developed country, and then you help them close that skill gap. You give them feedback. You tell them, okay, this is what you should be doing to charge well. This is what your rate sheet should look like. This is who you should be connecting with. You make introductions. You basically bring them in, and you are like, will I say, their guardian angel. What they could not afford, you're providing those services to them for free. So it's like 4 1-hour calls every week for 4 weeks, and inside those 1-hour calls, you're giving them supports. And at the end of that 4 weeks period, there should be like visible growth in terms of the business side and the skill side, so that they feel more empowered to go out and be the best freelancers that they can be. And then we're also going to have like a marketplace on the website. When that's done, it will be like Fiverr and Upwork, but nobody's paying for anything. The people who are intentional about working with freelancers in developing countries can come there, browse through talents, hire talents directly. There's no fee for working with anybody there. And there's going to be like a fee structure that must be paid. Like, you cannot come and expect to pay a writer $10 or hire a logo designer for $20. Like, they're going to be charging industry rates, and people who are intentional about working with them will be willing to pay those rates. So basically, that's what we want to do.
That's amazing. How far ahead are you now? How many mentors and mentees do you have?
Yeah, we did the first phase, like a test phase, towards the end of last year. I didn't even really talk about it. I just made a few posts, and people were so eager to help out. I was just amazed. I think we got like 140, 50 people in the first cohort. Yeah, on both sides. That's around number of freelancers donating time and freelancers who receive support. So that was basically only copywriters in the first cohort, but coming forward, I'm going to open it to every skill that someone can sell as a freelancer. They should be able to receive support there. So it's just going to be designers, writers, SEOs, marketers, anything you can think of. All of them should be able to get that support. So right now, because it's self-funded, the progress is kind of going slow on building the website. We've got the logo. I've gotten someone to write the copy because I'm trying to highlight talent. So hopefully by next month, we can get that done, move towards design, and hopefully launch the website by April.
That is so cool. How exciting. So in the mentorship, what is it that they come normally? Is it kind of anything I have my mentor that I can ask them? Is it specifically about the skill that they're trying to develop or the business that they're trying to develop? Because those are different.
It's both. Like you need the skill to be able to charge. Yeah. And then you need someone telling you that, okay, you're not here on the charging, and this is what you should be charging, and this is how you should progress. Like charge this first, get a client to pay you this, then charge this, and then that is how you keep scaling your business. So you need someone to guide you first on the skill, because without skill you can't charge, and then guide you on the business side. So it's the two sides that your mentor is providing support on: skill, business.
And it's in 4 1-hour sessions?
Yes, 4 1-hour sessions.
Then they can continue?
Yeah, like we've had many mentors who were willing to go longer than that. Like they were so passionate about helping, and a lot of them are like, yeah, okay, let me keep providing support for you because I think what we are doing here is very important. And then they keep like providing ongoing support based on how they can work it out with the mentee. But it's not enforced or anything like that. It's just purely you saying, okay, I want to keep doing this.
So out of all the people that applied, mentors and mentees, did everybody get a match?
Yes, most people got a match. Most people got a match. In fact, I think everybody got a match. Yes, everybody got a match. The issue we had was that we had a few people, maybe 5 to 10 people who signed up to provide support. And then when they were paired, they went cold silent. And following up with them, silence. But thankfully, we're able to repair those mentees with another group of mentors.
Cool. So I think that a lot of the people who listen to my podcast probably aren't as aware about how kind of closed off the SEO community is. And I would like, can you tell us more about why it's so closed off and how from within the community we could try to not be that way?
Yeah, I think it's really simple. The SEO community is a white boys club. It's just that simple. It's a white boys club. You have people like Arej doing great things with the women in tech SEO community. At least I think that's like the biggest community of women who do SEO. So that is amazing. But for the most part, it is still a white boys club. They are the ones who have the most successful companies. They are the ones controlling the SEO publishing houses or the publishing websites. They're basically in charge of everything, events, everything that kinds of give you visibility. It's a white boys club. And the thing with white people is that most of them live in privilege, and you're not aware of how much privilege that you have. So when, for example, when I started out in SEO, I would Google black SEOs and I would come up with very, very limited results. Like if you look at a website, for instance, I look at Search Engine Watch or Search Engine Journal, and I'm desperately searching for authors who are black that look like me, because it tells me that if people like me are getting published on these sites, then I have a good chance of also getting published on that site.
Yeah.
But when I go to this site and then I'm not seeing any publishers from Africa, I'm mostly seeing white people who are getting published, then it feels like, okay, this is just for white people only. You look at speaker lineups and 100% of the speakers are mostly Americans and British people, mostly white people, mostly white men, maybe 1 or 2 white women thrown in. Occasionally you have the black person who is just there for diversity's sake, but you never ever have anybody from third world countries. It's like, developing countries. It's like they are completely unaware that there are people living on this side of the earth who do SEO. So it's everything they do is focused on that small group of North America and the UK and Australia. probably. So it's a very, very, very small community, which is why I call it an invite-only club.
So you've been published though in Hacker Noon, in Search Engine Watch.
Yeah, I have been, and every time the only reason I've been published on these sites was because I read something by a Nigerian who had been published on those sites. Hacker Noon, I remember I read a piece of article by this Nigerian girl, and then I was like, oh, okay, there's a Nigerian writer here. Okay, that means I have a good chance of getting it. And that was when I started applying. I started publishing regularly with Hacker Noon. Same thing with Search Engine Watch. There was this guy, I've forgotten his name, but he published something really good there. I saw it in their newsletter, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is Nigerian. And after that, I sent in a pitch and it got accepted, and I published with Search Engine Watch. But I would never have put in my name if I did not see something written by someone from my end of the world.
Yeah. So have you been seeing any improvements at all?
No improvements, zero improvements. Hopefully, I still have this idea in my head that when we get the website set up, I can reach out to these websites, editors on this website, maybe do like a partnership program where we bring in SEOs from the program to publish on these sites.
Yeah.
To give them visibility. Like, I think it would be a great idea to close that gap.
Yeah, I mean, even through your coalition.
Yes, like there need to be more people from developing countries on these websites, like Search Engine Watch, like Search Engine Journal. There's just nothing there. Very few Nigerians there, very few people from India there. Most of the people who are Indian that are on this website are big names. Most of them might live in the US. Very few of them who are like still starting out or like still trying to figure stuff out. So I'm hoping that when we get the website set up, I can reach out to them, broker a deal that allows us to bring maybe one person in every week to publish, or one person in every month. At least just something that makes you say, okay, when you look at the people who are publishing on this side, you see someone who looks like you and has your name, and it makes you feel like, okay, I have a fighting chance of getting accepted.
Yeah. And even with the coalition, when everybody together is building an entire coalition of skilled writers, skilled designers, skilled freelancers, it actually provides an opportunity to build that new website or to build that network and to get
yes we also want to have that in the website, right in the website, people publishing content there, building expertise there, so that it's kind of like a way for clients to see their skills and say, okay, this person is an expert, they actually know what they're talking about, and then hire them. The website is going to exist for giving them visibility, something they've not had anywhere else. So that is already taken care of. That one is already secured. The people who will be publishing on the website, creating content there, will be people from this side of the world.
Yeah. So what are you doing these days in SEO? I'm asking, like, what are you doing? Because everybody's doing a lot of different things in SEO. There's, we have our SEOs that are always just bottom of the funnel, SEOs that are now publishing hundreds of pieces a month and not doing any backlinks. What's your thing these days?
That would never be me. I'm very too lazy to even write that many stuff. Yeah, like what I'm working on these days is I'm leaning towards doing more strategy in forms of topic clusters and then writing less content. So basically, I'm doing that more for clients, building topic clusters, and then executing that topic clusters in terms of contents. Most of my clients, what I've noticed is that most of them have bottom of the funnel contents. They have that figured out, but a lot of them are lacking top and middle of the funnel content because they get confused what should be in the middle of the funnel. Yeah. So I come in, build a cluster, close the gap. Most times they want me to execute it. Sometimes they want to outsource it to someone who is cheaper. Either way, works out fine. But I get paid more to do that cluster work than writing content. So that's what I've been working on now.
Yeah, that's kind of the path that I see a lot of SEOs going. So we start as writers. I did the same thing. Well. You start as writers and you're like, well, I can't write at this volume all the time. And it's nice it's harder to have that kind of overview on where the strategy is going if you're also actually writing it.
Yeah. I feel like it just gets boring after a while. It doesn't matter how interesting the work is. You get tired of doing the same thing all the time. And the older I'm getting, the more less inspired I am to write.
Yeah.
I keep increasing my rates so that even when I'm writing, I'm getting ridiculously well paid for it. Yeah. And when I'm doing the strategy work, at least the strategy work that is very minimal writing involved is more like mental work. So I feel like, yes, it's rewarding. And this is something that I see a lot of copywriters want to do. They want to move from that writing side to the strategy side, but a lot of them don't know how. I did not know how to do it too. I used to see a lot of copywriters saying, "Oh, okay, I charge more for strategy than content." I'm like, how? What exactly is the strategy you're doing? Like, show me the strategy and let me do it.
So what is it? What does it look like to you when you deliver a strategy?
Like for me, because I'm SEO, that strategy is topic clusters, closing content gaps, building authority. People are obsessed with keywords, and I don't understand why. I probably will never understand why we're obsessed with keywords. I think it's narrow-minded to obsess over one keyword, and then once you get to that top ranking, you move to another keyword, obsess over that keyword. Like, where does it end? But a topic cluster, it's kind of ambitious because you want to own that whole topic. You want to hold it. You want to own the term, not just one keyword inside that term. So that's what topic clusters allow you to do. It allows you to kind of like, will I say, dare to dream, but not just daring to dream. You can actually do it with the right data. You create the cluster, you close all the content gaps around that topic. You have like all different types of content. You have videos if people want videos. You have infographics if they are visual. You have podcasts talking about the topics. You have blog posts. You have all these different content formats living in so many places that at the end of creating that cluster, you are the one everybody's talking about when they mention that term, because you're also on social. You are basically everywhere with that keyword or topic. So I feel like that's the best way to become an authority, not just to rank for a keyword, but to actually be the authority. Because when you're the authority, it's not you going out to tell people this is what I do. It's people coming to meet you and saying, I know this is what you do, and would you please work with me? See, they are the ones even begging you now because they feel like you are the best person in the game for that particular problem.
I'm so glad that you brought it up and just the way that you explained it so clearly, because I just had this conversation with a client today or yesterday where I'm building a topic cluster. And then the question was, well, why are we talking about this? Isn't this going to confuse sales conversations? Because we do things, this is slightly out of the scope about what we do. And I'm trying to say, well, we're trying to dominate everything around this topic. And if we stick very closely to only the things that you do, then that's only a very small piece of the pie, right?
Yes, because that word dominates. I'm building this course on how to build topic clusters, and in the headline, the sub-headline says, for content marketers who want to dominate their niche. So that is the word, dominates. You don't want one keyword, you want to dominate, and you can't do that with just a bunch of keywords. So here's an example. I have this client, I built a cluster for them. The cluster topic is send money to Brazil. They're already on page 1, but they want to be number 1. Now, we have to go beyond keyword clustering about send money to Brazil or anything relating to that, and start thinking about why do people want to send money to Brazil? They send money to Brazil to take care of their children's healthcare or their family members' healthcare. So we did a topic on understanding Brazil's educational healthcare system. People send money to Brazil to pay for their children's school fees. We did a topic on understanding Brazil's educational system. People go to Brazil for Rio Carnival. We did a topic on Rio Carnival, because when they run out of funds, they need money. So we thought about, topic clusters force you to go outside that keyword clustering and start to think about all the different scenarios that the end user will be thinking of that particular topic, and then you serve them with that content so that at every single turn, you're right there with them.
It's so amazing because if you look at content from this perspective, it's almost shocking that people are like, well, I just don't know what to write about.
Yes.
There's so much. I can't believe you're not like wondering, how am I going to have the time to write all of this? Because there's so many different angles.
I have a cluster for SEO copywriting that I've still not finished executing because it's just so much content. So when you build topic clusters, the problem is never what to write. It is, okay, how long is it going to take? Never ever what to write, because there's always new keyword data. Search trends are always changing. What people want to see is always changing. So you are always updating that cluster.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a different angle that you can look at things at. Not only the angle of who, the what, the how, but also the intent. Like, am I wanting to learn? Am I wanting to be inspired? Am
Yeah.
I wanting to buy?
Yes.
So do you have a system in place for building out topic clusters?
When you say system, do you mean like a process that I follow to build out the topic clusters? Okay, yeah, I do. So the first thing I do is keyword research. No, not keyword research. Sorry, I go to the client's website and I do a content gap audit on that topic. So I want to identify what do they already have around that topic, and all of that goes at the top of the cluster as already created, and I highlight that in green so that it's easy to identify. So once I already know all of what they have, then I start doing keyword research to understand, to bring out the keyword clustering first. That's all of the terms related to the main topic. Once we have that, take that in the group, put that inside the cluster. We're going to like sieve that list down later on. Then next, I go further out, like I said, and start thinking holistically to all of the use cases when people would be thinking of that topic, starting from awareness. Awareness usually covered in the keyword clustering, so that doesn't need to. Then we come down to the middle, this middle of the funnel and bottom of the funnel, that you have to start thinking about holistic contents. Usually these ones don't have a lot of keyword volumes because it's kind of like people asking random questions as it relates to that topic. So it's not something you're going to find by typing the primary keyword. It's something you have to sit down and think of with data from sales team and customer facing teams, like questions they are getting and all of that. So I take all of those questions, maybe from what sales teams have gotten, what customer facing teams have gotten, put all of that together relating to that topic, put it inside the cluster. Next, I turn to Bozumo. I want to see what people are asking around that topic. Take all of that data from Bozumo, put it in that cluster. And finally, I like to do brainstorming session where I'm just like putting myself in the customer shoe, literally give them a name, all of that. And then I'm kind of like imagining all different scenarios and everything. I'm just trying to think of as many topics as possible that relates to that problem, and then put all of that into the list. And then I start whittling away at it based on like, does this fit what our client does? Will this ever be relevant to what they are doing right now in the future? Where would this fit in the cluster? Middle, bottom, top? Like, if it doesn't fit anywhere, then like, what's the whole point of creating that content then? So by the time I'm done whittling away that list, next I create content outlines for each of the topics in the cluster. I use phrase and SEM rush to get the data, put it in there. And after that, fill out meta descriptions, fill out all the meta details for each of the topics, so that if they are sourcing it to another writer, all they have to do is just take that content outline, write and put in the draft, and then the client just takes all that metadata filled out and then uploads it to the website. So basically, that is it.
That is very thorough. And do you have a team right now, or are you doing all of this by yourself?
No. I still work with myself, but most times I'm doing the strategy on my own, and sometimes I'm working with some like one or two people to execute. But strategy is just because I'm obsessed that way. I would never trust anybody with strategy. But the writing part, yeah, if I give them, I've noticed that when I give writers a content outline with as much detail as I tend to do, it is very easy for them to write, because I like all of the subheadings have like explanations and everything. So it's easier for them to write when they have a detailed content outline to work with.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but we have a similar process, but we also write, put so much effort into the brief, which is a document that keeps changing every time. I'm like, oh, okay, no, actually the writer needs this information too. The writer needs this information. Now the brief without any information on it, just the template, is like 5 pages long already.
Yeah, I try, because that would be overwhelming. So I try not to overwhelm them with too much data. What goes into the brief is like subheadings, FAQ questions, list of semantic words to include in the topic, statistics to include in the topic, like where relevant, because the phrase gives me that data, and then content gaps that I've seen, things I think we could discuss inside the topic to make it better than the competitors. And if there is an editorial style, I give them the editorial style too, but in a separate document, so that the brief is basically just subheadings, FAQs, semantic words to include, places to get external links from. And yeah, I give that to them.
Okay, so you do advise them on link building?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Like always, I first thing I always tell them is that don't link to competitors, obviously. And who is the competitor? You can just always make sure that you're looking at what the website does when you're writing, to make sure that this is not someone who does anything remotely similar to what our client does. And then check that website, check that link, make sure that it actually opens. It is not a broken link. It's so simple, but a lot of people ignore this, especially when you're writing from tools like Phrase that already show all of that content right there in the tool. So you don't need to go to the website. So I always tell them, go to the website, make sure it's legit, make sure everything checks out before we link to it. And then internal links, I always tell, in fact, internal links is easier to build because you can just take that primary keyword and then put it in Google besides the client's website name and check for that. But I do internal linking mostly on my own with tools like Link Whisperer, and then by checking each of the subheadings to see if there's any relevant content on the client side that we can build to, because I'm a big fan of internal link building.
Yeah, I haven't heard about this tool that you mentioned, Link Whisperer.
Yeah, it's not a tool, it's a plugin.
Okay, what does that do?
Yeah, it's you finish writing the content, you put it on WordPress and you're editing, and Link Whisperer is suggesting internal links that you should be adding for each of those words. So yeah, they look at your content already on your website and they're like, okay, this link can go here, this link can go here. Some of the links suggestions are not that good, but most of the time it's really, really helpful. So I don't have to start doing any manual research. I just straight in there and they're suggesting as many links as possible.
Yeah. So there was something that you mentioned earlier that I thought was pretty interesting.
Okay.
And I wonder if it's because you focus more on middle of the funnel and top of the funnel, but you said never to mention a competitor.
Yeah.
Because what if you're writing, there are a lot of keywords that are bottom of the, I guess if you're not doing bottom of the funnel content.
Yeah, I do bottom of the funnel. Like every cluster, most of the times the cluster is top and middle because the client already has bottom, but where the client doesn't, then I add bottom of the funnel.
So if you're writing lists of tools, for example, you work for SaaS, so there's obviously going to be some
yeah, like
the best email automation tools. How are you going to write those without
comparison tools? All those comparison topics, always like, oh my god, it's easy. The writing is not the problem. The problem is usually with the client, because the legal team has to go through that, make sure that the wording is right, make sure that you're not speaking too badly or negatively about the other competitor. It's this long ass process, but I do that. When I talk about not linking to the client, I mean like not referencing them when we're writing like the usual content pieces, but if we're doing comparison pieces, definitely we'll put the client link in there when we're doing comparison pieces. But I know sites like Transferwise or some other site that won't link to the competitors. They have pages on the competitors on their own websites. So rather than linking to the competitor, they would link to the competitor page on their websites, so that every time they mention the competitor's name, it will direct to that competitor page.
That's so smart. And then it's actually saying like Transferwise versus.
Yes, let's say Transferwise versus Remitly, but they're not linking to Remitly.com. They have a page on Remitly, a review page on Remitly. So every time they mention Remitly, they link to that review page. So if the same thing, if they mention Western Union, they have Western Union review. So when they mention Western Union, they're not linking to westernunion.com, they're linking to their Western Union review page. So I think that's a better idea than linking out to your competitors, because I don't even want people to even go to the competitors pages. I want them to live on my client's website. So when you have review pages like that of every single person you consider a competitor, and then you're doing like a listicle, whatever kind of comparison article, you can link to those comparison pages that somehow still put you in a better light, so that you are still convincing the prospect that I am better than this. I want to say motherfucker, but
that's such a good idea, because in any case, it's important to have kind of comparison pages between you and your competitor as a part of SEO, or just as a part of your general content strategy.
Yeah, because clients ask for it.
Yeah. And then to actually put that into your SEO every time you talk about them, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
Because then, yeah, you're keeping them inside of your website. You still are being honest and accepting that there are other competitors out there. But then you can send them to your review page where you're like, well, maybe I'm still better.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you're not saying anything bad about them, but you're not also not telling them all the good stuff they do. You just mentioning 1 or 2 good points, and then you let's just say it's a pros and cons list. You put 2 pros, and then you put like 20 cons under there, and basically,
Yeah. You're like, really? I mean, they're there. No,
yeah.
I think that it's nice to be honest. So I don't always try to like, I do mention competitors in posts. It depends on the kind of post, of course, but if I'm trying to rank for a keyword that's talking about lists of specific kind of tools, I have to talk about them. So, but I also don't want to be trash talking them or anything. So the way that I look at it, it's more like, well, this tool is right for this kind of person who's not my target audience. And my tool is right for my kind of audience. So that way it helps qualify the leads a little bit as well. I guess it depends if the tool is very specific to
which it rarely ever is if they're competitors, because there's a lot of overlap. So it's kind of tricky. What I like to adopt, I like to take like a bland tone, a neutral tone rather, and then just talk about them from a neutral perspective. I'm not talking too nice. I'm not talking bad about them at all, in a way that when a legal team looks at it, they're like, okay, this content is okay. We're not going to get sued for saying any of this stuff. So that is the tone that I adopt when I'm talking about competitors, a neutral tone.
Yeah. I feel pretty inspired now.
Nah, I learned about this back when I was working in house. My boss had like a competitor page for every single copywriting agency in the US, UK, and Australia.
And is it always a review page or like a versus page?
No, all of them are review pages. Review of let's say review of copy hackers, review of copy press, review of this site. Every single copywriting agency, he had a review page about them. So when we talk about 10 best days or comparison days or all of that, he would link to the review page, never to the competitor.
So what's included in the review page? Is it like a honest review?
Yeah, it's usually a very, like I said, it's usually a neutral tone. He put it as he sees it, like this is data online about them. Yes, this is data about them online. So it's kind of like when the company was founded, this is what the company does, this is what they specialize in, a brief about the founder. Like it's kind of, it looks like a Wikipedia page, basically. So we take a lot of Wikipedia entities because he still wants those pages to rank. When people type in like brand X reviews, he wants it to rank for those competitor pages so that it's still bringing traffic to us. So we use a lot of Wikipedia entities when creating those review pages.
Yeah. I feel like I have a lot of inspiration now, and I've just been having this conversation, and it's on the list to create these pages, but I normally do those pages as competitor alternative. So the alternative to this.
Yeah, you can have the review page and still have alternative, and still have those competitor alternative. But I feel like those competitor alternative pages are best as landing pages. Because if somebody is looking at that as for an alternative, that means they've tried this tool, and that means they are more likely to even buy than someone who is even bought up in the middle of the funnel. So a landing page has a lot of conversion intent, but it's also very educational, especially if you are doing an SEO landing page. So when you do it as a landing page, the conversion intent is there, the information is there, but it is so powerful. It's much more powerful than when you're writing it as a blog post.
Yeah. It definitely works. I mean, it definitely works. I mean, I sometimes publish them as a blog post, but as a landing page, I mean, it just depends on how you're distributing it. All of them are SEO, right? Like
yes. Even as a landing page, it's still SEO because you're still using keywords to write them, but it's just that it's more powerful for conversion when written as a landing page.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this has been such an insightful conversation. I'm really glad to have had you on today. Where is the best place for people to connect with you? if they
Yeah,
want?
my website's zenithcopy.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn with my name, Chima
Yeah.
Mmeje, or
And
Twitter with my name, so Chima Mmeje.
what's the URL to your to the Freelancer Coalition?
Yeah, we've not done that yet. We are still like backstages yet. So
Okay.
once we have a URL, I can give that to you. Then you can add it to the show notes for
Yeah.
this podcast.
Cool. Yeah, by the time that this gets published, it'll probably be live. So
Yeah.
it'll be in the show notes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chima, for your time. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Maeva. Thank you.
And for anybody who likes this episode, of course, share it with your friends and colleagues, give it a like, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.